All right, so we're going to start our first ever podcast. This one's going to be talking about fitness and all things fitness racing and getting fit, right? So this podcast is first going to be introduced by myself, Clarence, as well as Julien, right? So we're here together to just talk a little bit and just chat a little bit of the fitness industry in Asia as well as what's happening around the world, right? So maybe we can start with a little bit of an introduction of who we are and what we do, and also how we got to know each other, right? Why don't you start first, Julien?
You mean, who am I?
Yes, who you are. Or I guess you can start with like sharing what you do and what you've been up to recently.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Julien from HYROX Fit company. And I've been basically coaching athletes for the last 15 years, something like that.
Okay.
Mostly on aerobic capacity because my background was running, and then functional fitness because I've also done as a elite athlete, CrossFit, and nowadays hybrid sports such as Spartan and HYROX.
Right.
So that's what I do. I mostly coach athletes to become the best version of themselves.
Right.
And I also compete for fun on the side to just show I'm still here.
Yeah, I think Julien's being a bit humble. Like, he's actually a former French national team sprinter, 800 meters, right?
800, yeah.
800 meters.
Middle distance.
Correct, middle distance. And I think not many people know, but 800 meters is actually one of the toughest distance to be racing in, correct?
It's not something very comfortable, but the reward when you run fast is, it's something unique. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think like also quite interesting is that Julien also did quite a lot of Spartan racing, and also apart from like HYROX and all the other stuff you've been doing now, like you also used to do like Spartan racing and CrossFit. I think that's two things that you actually don't really share about these days, which is that CrossFit was actually quite a big part of what you've been doing.
Exactly.
And Spartans, right? Correct, yeah.
Well, Spartan, not that much actually, but then I've done a few races. I really like it. It's super fun. I like this combination of like cross country and obstacle. But yeah, CrossFit was a part of my journey as a elite athlete when I used to compete for a few years at the top level. Yeah.
What was that actually the first time you came to Singapore for CrossFit? Because actually quite a lot of when I was talking about you and when I was discussing with some of my friends about having a HYROX specific coach come down to give workshops, and I actually asked quite a few of my friends about, hey, do you know who Julien is? And actually a lot of my CrossFit friends knew who you were. They actually interacted with you before.
For the CrossFit competition.
Correct. Was it because you came down to Singapore before to compete, or was it like...
I didn't actually came to Singapore, but I went to all the other countries in Southeast Asia. And well, when I was in my prime of CrossFit, I pretty much won all of the available competition around,
right?
Which was super cool. I'm super happy that I've done that. But so I've met a lot of people along the way, which are following the trend, let's say, CrossFit, and
into
now it's HYROX.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, so that's basically like, I guess that's what I know of you, which is CrossFit. And I think the contrast between me and you is quite different because I never actually was a national athlete. I also never participated in any sort of competitions all my life. One of the brands I run is called the Almost Athlete.
Yeah.
And the reason being because I always felt like, I was always so close to be a good athlete, but I never cross that threshold. In school, I was like captain of my badminton team. I was everything, but I never actually pushed myself to want to compete at the highest level.
Yeah.
Right. So I think when I first met you, I felt like, wow, okay, I'm actually very inspired by your story and how you've transitioned between like many different sports, like from running into CrossFit and then now into HYROX. As somebody that I kind of look up to, because I personally didn't have that kind of drive to be that good. It's like, I don't know how to put it, like just being that good at something, Yeah.
Well, but then you've tried many sports as well, right?
Yeah, correct.
So you've touched on different aspect of like team sport, individual sport, and something more skilled like with the calisthenics, the strengths.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool because it built up like very serious foundation, for everyday life.
Yeah. I mean, I can share a little bit by myself. So I mean, I've been playing sports sort of all my life. Like, in school, I was badminton. I also played like a bit of volleyball, a little bit of table tennis. But my problem in life was that I always had a chip on my shoulder because I was always the smallest guy.
Okay.
I was always the tiniest person, and like compared to my rest of my team.
Yeah.
So I always felt that athletically I was not as good as them as my peers lah. So because of that, I always focus more on the other aspects of sports. Like I try to be a bit smarter about it.
Yeah.
I try to read more about the other stuff, and I guess that's where my competitive advantage was.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah, I was quite competitive. But my entry into fitness only came maybe 6-7 years ago. I was already working, and I mean, quite old now, but I was already working, and and my friend actually, and one of my biggest goals in life was always to go boxing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I always wanted to box, like, and to be quite good at boxing. I always wanted to fight, so I got it. Yeah, so exactly. So in the end, my wife or my girlfriend then kind of like encouraged me to take up boxing.
Yeah.
And that's where I got into boxing. I ran my first marathon because I was so like aerobically fit from boxing that I lost a lot of weight. I changed my lifestyle completely. I stopped drinking that much, and I focused more on like getting healthy, getting good at the sport, and that's how I started to get into the fitness scene.
Reset.
Correct, exactly. And then when I reset it and I sort of like align everything, that's where people started to ask me, why don't you start coaching as well? Why? Because you're so interested in like sports, you're so interested in fitness, and you've been doing it all your life.
Yeah.
So that's how I sort of got into just being a coach.
Yeah.
Right. So I was just want to coach. I started off as S45.
Yeah.
And then from there, I moved on to a bit more S&C. I studied the NSGA, CSCS as S&C, and then sort of like moved on from there. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Congratulations on your
correct. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
It's been a
and
long
now you're
journey.
doing quite well.
Yeah. So I mean, when I guess one of the things that I felt quite interesting was recently, over the last couple of years, when I remember HYROX first came to Singapore, and I think I was really running Fitstop, and one of the things that I always wanted was to get people who are really good at what they do, like yourself, to kind of educate people, right? So that's where I came in contact with you, and I reached out to you. The interesting story was that I think I reached out to you because I felt like we were kind of the same size.
But it's a good point, because when you were saying that I was always the smallest guy in a room for competitive sports, we are the same size. And you know that it happens that you can win even being like a small human, but then you don't have to be like a unit to be the first. And at the opposite, it shows you something in competitive sports, like performance sport in general, that the physique does not relate to the performance you can actually show on the floor. Yeah.
Actually, on that note, like how do you actually, I guess you were competing at CrossFit at quite a high level. It's rare that someone under 80 kgs is good at CrossFit because you have to lift a lot of weight, right? So how do you feel that you managed to find a room for yourself in the sport?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So now we are in 2025. When I used to compete CrossFit was from 2016 to basically 2020. Right. I stopped basically around COVID.
Yeah.
Before, I will call it CrossFit because it was more like about fitness, more about like you've had like weights to lift, that's for sure.
But you still had to snatch and like
but by the time it was not as it is now. If you were snatching 100 kg, you were still defending yourself. But by now, 100 kg is just a warm-up barbell.
Yeah.
So you see, the sport has increased so much and improved.
That's true.
And the human ability to lift heavy with all this new methodology of training and the engagement of the people where
it's Matt Fraser's fault, man.
Yeah, exactly. So when you see idol like that, so that's why I really like also the way CrossFit is established as a solid sport, because they are feeding the idols, let's say, okay? They're feeding the idols and the idols remain the same for decades. which we don't see in trendy sports here and there. If you notice, like that's how you notice the sport is as solid foundation, because you can relate to your idol, and this is because of this guy, the top guy, that you can move on, and this guy is going to be an inspiration for thousands or more people. You know. So short answer. Before was easier than it is now.
So do you think if you went into CrossFit now, you will have the same success, honestly?
If I was the age I was back then, well, I will still defend myself on all the aerobic and gymnastics.
Correct.
Well, of course, I cannot lift big weight compared to the big dudes on the field right now. But I think I could still defend myself.
Yeah. So I mean, just because of that, right? It's I guess there's with more development in sport, it doesn't necessarily mean it's harder. It just means that you just need to know more stuff, right? Is it?
Yeah, you know, like let's say when first basketball was originally starting, everybody, small human, tall human, was playing and no problem. But then over the year, you could, people like you and I, we could not reach to dunk, right?
I mean, recently there's the Japanese dude that managed to break into the NBA. But
but that's, let's say, an exception, right?
Yeah, correct.
So if you look at the general public of elites basketball player, they are all really tall. And this is what is happening now in CrossFit. At first, you had a lot of different body types. And then now we can see the type of body types we have for the CrossFit Games, for example. Like these guys are reaching 90 kg average of body weight. I am 65, so bye-bye.
It's tough. It's like, I find it really hard to explain to someone that weight actually matters so much. Especially when it comes to lifting. As you know, like it's easy to see the big guys like throwing big weights, but I think most people don't give themselves enough credit for the amount of weight they're carrying, lifting, because as Asians, we're just a bit smaller than compared to the big white guys or the big like Caucasian dudes and everything, or the big Icelandic people. And they always say, oh, I can't even lift that much, but body weight to body weight, I think the threshold it's actually Asians are pretty strong. It's just that sometimes, you know, when it comes to absolute numbers, the weight does apply. It's just that you are actually pretty strong for your size, right?
Of course. I mean, when you look at the strongman ratio compared to their body weight and the way they lift for the deadlift, like for, if we take Eddie Hall, for example, what is body weight when he was lifting 500 kg?
Like
probably 180, something like that.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, it's like what, 2 point something. It's less than 3 times his body weight.
It's not that impressive when you put it that way.
What is your PB for the deadlift?
Please don't ask me. That's like, my PB is about 205.
And your body weight when you did that?
65.
So you see,
it's about 3 times.
More than 3 times your body weight. So then,
I mean, I was pretty impressed myself, but okay.
So by ratio, you are stronger than the strongest man in the world. so if we put it this way, but then obviously lifting 200 kg is not impressive compared to lifting 500 kg. That is visually different.
Do you think the sport of HYROX will have the same kind of like I guess specialization in terms of the kind of people you see doing HYROX?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. HYROX originated in 2017. It has made such a big improvement since. Like, you see how many people are participating each weekend for the venue? That's insane.
They're making billions.
They keep making more venue and they keep making more spots available for the races. And now we have waiting lists.
Do you have waiting list for Shanghai?
Well, I don't know about that, but then I get my ticket on time. Maybe now, I don't know.
Well, Singapore comes out next week, or I mean, when this recording, it's the next third week of March. But no, not for sure. It's it doesn't stop ramping up about the popularity right now. Why do you think it's so popular? Actually,
well, simple answer that I guess majority of the coach will agree. Not only the coach, but like it makes sense that HYROX is accessible. Physically talking, there is no skills involved. While if we compare with CrossFit, for example, because we were talking about it just a moment ago, CrossFit is a lot of skills.
Yep.
CrossFit requires a lot of practice,
Yeah.
especially for Olympic weightlifting in order to avoid injuries.
Yep.
You don't have that in HYROX.
Yeah. That's
if
true.
you injure HYROX, it's going to be bad luck.
Yeah.
It happens, obviously, bad luck. So, but you can be cautious way more easily, let's say, for injury prevention training HYROX, which is an aerobic sport, than training CrossFit, which is more mixed modality sports than just aerobic phase.
Yeah. I mean, it's not difficult, honestly.
No, it's not difficult. And also the big difference will be the exercise itself, because HYROX is one race, which
same thing, like every single time.
Same thing. It's like when you race like a track event, 800 meter remains 800 meter.
Doesn't
you
change.
You just change the track, different venue, but it is the same race, and you race for going faster than the previous time. Right? While in CrossFit, you never know what's going to happen, and this is their motto: be ready for the unpredictable, for the way, you know. So then they change every time, and they also try to every year incorporate new movements. New skills, which is kind of cool. So it's very different on that.
I mean, for me, like, from a Singaporean perspective, right? I was just talking to you just now, which is that I think the good thing about HYROX is that fundamentally it is a running sport. Like fundamentally, like the main thing you do most in the whole thing is running, right? In a very comfortable distance, like 1K. It's not like it's not like a 5K every time. It's just 1K, and in total it's 8K. So it's not like a very difficult distance as well. It's not like 42K, right? A marathon where you have to seriously put in the mileage and the volume to kind of like get to that point,
right?
And 8K is actually a very comfortable pace for a lot of Singaporeans, only because running is like such a national sport in Singapore. Like everybody runs. Like as a male, like in military service, we start our military training with running. Like everything starts with having to run more, progressively build up the running tolerance into running with a backpack, and that's how we are ingrained to what PT is when we were in army. So every Singaporean guy comes out thinking they're able to run already. Right. So if you are able to run, then of course, this sport seems not as daunting. Because you're comfortable and you've done it before, right?
True. You get familiar with running, obviously, if it's cultural here, and then anyways the stations are quite kind of fun to do. Like the ski was recently introduced on the big scene because it has been here for such a long time, but then it's just recently that it came up like to more and more gyms around. The row was always here. So that's about the HYROX station, which are part of like the aerobic process of that. The sled is fun. Gyms have invested a lot of space also. Not only about the equipment, but the space, because it requires space. But it's such a cool equipment to have in your gym. It's working like functional. It's kind of functional.
In fact, I always say, or like I always feel like the most functional tool, actually, if I had a choice, would be the sled. Like when I was a S&C coach, or like trying to teach younger athletes, the thing I always try to introduce is the sled, because I feel like it's so functional, right? You don't have being more technical, you don't have the eccentric portions in sled pushing.
True.
So it's just a purely concentric movement, right? So injury-wise, you can almost never get injured doing sleds, right? Because it's just concentric movements, right? And it's such a functional movement that it helps you bend all your joints. There's not many exercises help you do that, right?
Yeah, correct.
So I think I was actually one of the things that got me excited about HYROX, I was like, oh, you get to push a sled, because that's such a good exercise to incorporate into this. So rather than getting people to do like 100 back squats, like the sled push is such a good exercise. I don't know how to describe it.
And anybody can have access to the movement of the sled is kind of like natural. You're just going to push something or pull something from the ground, and that's doable for even the most beginner athletes you have in your gym. So
so interestingly, do you feel that a lot of people struggle with HYROX because they are worried about the weights that they are pushing, or like the weights in HYROX itself? Or do you think like the issue why people are not confident doing more solo events, or like they always start with like the relay start, is because something about the weights that they are not comfortable with?
You think so?
I do. I don't know. I'm two minds about it, because I feel like for me, I always like heavy weights, right? So I hate run. I don't like the running part that much.
Yeah.
But the weights, that's why the first event I did was I really wanted to do a pro, because I feel like, oh, I'm definitely gonna be able to push the 200 kg sled.
Okay.
Versus running fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my vision of that is like, again, I'd take CrossFit as an example because it was here before HYROX, and the popularity of CrossFit have impacted a lot of people who are now taking part in HYROX. In CrossFit, you have division of, originally was called Scaled and RX. And then they came up with plenty of other division, but basically Scaled and RX, we will take that for the example.
Are you one of those people that feel that Scaled doesn't count?
Well, this is two different sports. So in CrossFit, Scaled and RX, this is to determine who are the beginner, intermediate athletes and who are the elites, basically, right? But then in HYROX, it's totally different.
Right.
You have open weight, you have pro weight. It doesn't mean you pull pro weight that you are a pro, first of all. And it also doesn't mean that you go for open weight that you are a beginner. That's a different mindset from CrossFit, because some guys in pro race will be super successful because they can take at their advantage the fact that they are strong. But if you put these same guys successful in pro, in open, which is a much faster race, I'm not sure they can run as fast, even if they can move the sled faster, just because the aerobic capacity is built different. So I will say the open weight and the pro weights, they are two different races. Even if for the world championship,
even
they
for
only
the doubles versus the doubles versus the relay, I don't think people understand how different these four races are.
Yes, and the relay is different stimulus.
I mean, you recently won the APAC record.
Yes, so then on the APAC, we were racing at close to 3-minute pace, which is 20 kilometers per hour. And you move on to a station. So basically, you're closer to the anaerobic failure than the aerobic failure, right? So you build up a lot of lactic acid. And if you don't train for this, the relay can be much more painful than the solo race.
I mean, I did, so I'm not as competitive as you. So I did the relay, I did doubles. No, wait, so I did relay, I did pro and did open. Personally, I feel like the relay was the hardest race. Because it was just painful from start to finish. Like you really push yourself to the threshold. From the moment you step off the line all the way till you pass and step your friend in, and then you do it again.
And then you do it again. Exactly. So it's basically running sort of a 1500 meter to compare the people who don't know what it is yet. So 1500 meter all out. You have like a 10-minute rest and repeats. So that's extremely painful.
What's the timing you run for all three races? Just curious, like for your opens versus your pro versus, have you done a pro?
So I've done pro in 2022, but the thing is, like I was just getting out of COVID. So that's maybe not a big reference, but still I was quite happy with that.
I mean, if you want to share, like, what's the timing you ran for your open, the one that you won in Europe? Second, third place. So
in Europe, we finished third at double with my friend Callum.
Right. So you got that's your doubles open. You did the doubles open. You did the opens in Singapore, and then you did the relay in Hong Kong.
So,
Right. So what's the difference in your race times? The 1 km speed that you're going.
1 km speed. The difference will be, of course, if you go double or team, you go way faster than if you are individual. That's for sure.
We're going like 3 minutes per km for your APAC?
For the relay, it was ranging between 3 and 3:15, 3:20 for the pace. So yes, it's fast.
That would be in context. How fast is, say, the fastest marathon running? 3?
Oh, it's slower than the fastest guy in marathon. Yeah, for sure. The fastest guy in marathon will go sub 255,
right, okay.
even
so
close to
it's fast, but it's not that
250.
fast yet, right?
It's fast for HYROX now. But as I was saying, you see, there is an improvement
Every
into
year,
the
yeah.
fitness level because this sport is still on a growth curve.
Correct.
So then I think we will see soon enough people able to run sub 3 minutes for
so?
HYROX. Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, sorry to cut you, but I guess you're running 3:15 for relay.
Yeah.
And then your opens timing, what were you running?
With Callum, we clicked around 340, 345.
Okay, so sub 4.
But you have to know that when we finished third at the European Championship, that was our actual first HYROX race ever.
Really?
We had zero experience. We've done tons of mistakes. And then we still placed third
place.
and the second place was just a second or two ahead of us.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that was such a great experience. Yeah.
That's very impressive, honestly. Yeah. So you guys ran 340 and then the opens for the one you won in Singapore?
So Singapore, I've clicked 105 the total time, which was a little slow for like an open score winner.
Okay, right.
But the thing is, like, it's also the venue I've been the slowest.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's such a great venue, the National Stadium of Singapore, but it was packed. I think it was like the
biggest at the point. Yeah,
the biggest one-day event in the world or something, like, or at least in Asia.
It was, I think the numbers, correct me and fact check me if I'm wrong, but I think 2,500 on that day itself. Yeah. Or more than that.
I think it's way more than this.
Just let me do a quick check.
Maybe it's. I thought it was more than 7K.
7K?
Yeah. For participants, like only in my division, we were more than 1,000 people. Just in my division for a one-day event, it's big. It's really big.
I think it's so in 2023 there were 3,500 people.
Is it
3,500 on that one day? Oh, sorry. The first HYROX event in October.
But that was in 2024, the one in National Stadium.
That was the second event actually. Yeah. The first event, 2 months before the second one was on October 7 was 3,500. 3,500 and the first HYROX event, which is the highest number of participants for a debut race. Yeah.
And the one in June? In 2024? Because that's the one I was participating in. I think I've heard like a crazy number.
It's probably higher. Okay, so that one, 6,500 people.
You see, so close to 7.
6. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because just in my open division, more than 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably 1K plus for each division.
Yeah. So were you being blocked along the way?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Man, it was like a tsunami of human.
Yeah.
The fast lane disappeared totally. So you cannot express your fitness when there is too many people.
Right.
Still, it went well because I won overall, which is really cool. But if you want to run fast, you need to spot which venue will host a faster race for sure. Because each venue are different.
Right. Yeah. So I guess what we're trying to get at here is probably that all the races in the HYROX are sort of different, right? And the expectation of the speed you have to run and the time you have to run in that speed is very different, correct? So I guess as an S&C coach, and how I look at it is that the way I would structure and frame each and every event that you want to train is completely different. It may be a running sport, but it's like training for 400 versus a 1K versus a 10K. It's running, but it's still different, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess what's your take on how to program HYROX? I guess the biggest question that we as coaches kind of get is, how do I train for HYROX, right?
Well, not only coaches, a lot of people trying to train on their own, a lot of people who are scrolling on Instagram and trying to get all the small pieces of information to make their own program. I will say focus on aerobic capacity, definitely.
So maybe you can explain what aerobic capacity is, or what specifically I guess for the audience or for the people listening to this, if there are any, is that what
Guys.
I guess what exactly is aerobic capacity? And then how do we as coaches structure or break down aerobic capacity for the layperson to kind of understand and to sort of learn it for themselves?
Yeah. So I will talk with simple words to make it easier for the audience. But then basically this is your endurance, the ability to sustain a certain pace throughout the full workout. Because you can be the best in the world on the ski, the best in the world on the sled push. Who cares? The overall time counts only. It's only your final result which counts. That's basically you're going to have to manage your energy throughout the full workout. And that comes from, slowing down the intensity, and then maybe train more on a longer piece of workout for each stations, incorporating more running into it to make sure that your body adapts for the compromise between running and station. And this takes time. It's not something like sprints where you're going to do like such a burst of exercise and have a long period of rest. No, you have no rest in HYROX. So if you have no rest in HYROX, why would you take a lot of rest into your training, you see? So you have to get used to that. You have to make sure that you understand that this is an endurance sport. The strength is secondary. Okay. So
I think most people underestimate how much endurance you actually need to be able to sustain both running into doing a strength exercise. Because you not only need the aerobic capacity, you also need the muscular capacity or the muscular endurance to push through that,
Well, you don't need to be the strongest guy in the world for sure, but you certainly need some strength also. So you can work on this as like a structured program for the coach. I'm pretty sure the coach are programming a very similar way that it is done for CrossFit, basically, because you have different compound movements that you're going to mix with some aerobic methods, right? Obviously running going to build your endurance. If your endurance gets better, you can flush out of your body faster, like the lactic acid and all the thing that slows you down into the race, and you can recover faster for the transition phase. So you move on, you keep moving, and you can keep moving faster even by jogging than walking. So then it's more about endurance in general.
I guess, I remember back then we had this conversation, which is that I was quite frustrated with my speed. And I mean, I've never been a good runner, and I always feel like, running is not my strongest suit, right? I'm more of a strength guy. But I think there's one thing that you said to me was quite interesting. You told me that, look, in order to run the pace I want to run, it takes actually a lot of time. You need to build the tolerance in your muscles and in your body to be able to reach that kind of pace. And that actually takes quite a lot of time. And what I was thinking in my head back then, I remember when you telling me, was like, it's like bodybuilders, they don't go on stage. They don't train 1 year and then go on stage the next year, right? They build and layer their muscles over and over and over again over a period of 5 to 10 years. And then they only peak after 5 to 10 years of training. And that's where they start to win their competitions. Right? Is it the same thing?
Well, maybe not 5 to 10 years.
Oh, thank God.
or you're going to miss the peaking phase. But yes, that's basically the same idea. Like, it depends what is your expectation about yourself. All right. So if like a beginner athlete comes to me and say, okay, I want to run a 3:30 pace in HYROX, but this guy has a 6-minute pace currently, that's going to take some time. And according to the individual, according also to the dedication they will put into fitness training, that will happen sooner or later, but it's hard to give a time lapse about it.
Like running, I guess, like aerobic sports, and why marathons and 10Ks and 20Ks or like even triathlons are so popular. One of the reasons is because, it's the output you put directly translate into whatever you achieve out there.
Yeah.
Unlike any other sport. It's more so in this than any other sport, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it's rewarding when you finish and you feel like, okay, I've been improving from since this time compared to last time. It's getting better. Yeah. So let's move on and get even better next time because competitive mindset.
And the more you run, the faster you just get. It's direct correlation. There's no other way to do it, other than the more you put in, the more you get, right? Yeah. As compared to learning a new skill. Yeah. It's not always linear when you learn a skill, because there are sticking points that you need to cross over to learn a skill. Yeah. But for running, it's directly correlated. Like I run more, I'll get faster, right? No.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for beginner, yes. Okay. But like once you have
elite level, it's different.
Cross the, let's say, the advanced level.
Yep.
It's not because you run more that you're gonna run faster.
True.
But of course, at the beginning, when you start something new, it makes total sense that the more you do, the better you become for anything, pretty much anything in life. But
how long do you think it takes for one to say, get a good top 50 or 20 timing in HYROX? What is the training age that you have to be to get there?
For Asia?
For a beginner like myself, like say for example, I've never been a track athlete.
Yeah.
So I just started picking up running. How long am I looking at to say get really good at HYROX?
What do you call really good?
Well, I mean, maybe a podium at a local level,
Okay.
Yeah. Like an age group podium.
Okay. Well, looking at the new people arriving, it's the more we wait, the more difficult it will be.
That's true.
So then we need to start as soon as possible. Right. And then obviously, because I know you, okay, I've been coaching you for the last years.
2 years. Yeah. 2 years? Okay.
Yeah, at least 2 years, I will say.
Yeah.
So then I will say you need to put more time into running,
right?
Because you are already a strong dude.
Yep.
But definitely if you put the work and train smart and recover also, because that's a neglected part of many, I will give you probably 6 months to 1 year.
Oh, that's not too bad,
It's a lot of if. But what I mean is like anybody, maybe not anybody, but like a lot of people are doable to podium.
Yep.
If they put the work.
Yep. Yeah, I mean to just share a bit. I guess one of my success stories of HYROX is not really myself, but I actually coached two I guess influencers or whatever who've never ran much, casual gym goers. Yeah. And they managed to get a sub 130, 120 timing for their I think it's sub 130.
On the first race?
On their first race as a doubles pair. And I think that's really impressive. And to be honest, when they came to me, it was, I think 9 weeks out.
Okay.
So it was a good 9 weeks of training with them. And then I'm quite proud of it because I feel like, a lot of people come in and they ask me, oh, can I actually do HYROX? And can I actually be able to get a good timing? I'd say actually, to be honest, as a newbie, as a thing, if you train right, 12 weeks would see a lot of improvement in running already. Yeah.
Of course, because one block, while you're well known to, well placed to know that, like a block is around 12 weeks in a cycle, right? So within 12 weeks, you can split in 3 blocks of 4 weeks for the people who don't know. And usually what we do is like instead of having a linear curve of progression, we're going to make like a peaking phase or build up phase, call it what you want, and then a deload or taper. And then it goes like you're building up your stairs to be able to climb up your level and have progress, constant progress without hitting plateau. I guess one to add to that, which is that what I find as a coach is that tapering is the most important week of all. You can have solid 8 weeks and you don't do a taper, you will plateau. It's almost definite that you will definitely taper. There is also something we don't see. because we always refer to the muscle and to the soreness to be satisfied of a workout.
Yeah.
The thing is like a muscle, it's just tissue which are going to absorb your nutrients and your liquids to just regenerate. And it is quite fast to regenerate a muscle.
Yeah.
Like even if you have a muscle tear, it just takes a few weeks, if it's not too bad, to recover, right? But what we don't see is inside we have the nervous system.
Yep.
And when you keep pushing, keep grinding, you don't feel it straight away. But then this is like a silent pain that grow and grow and grow. And if you don't leave your nervous system chillax a little bit, even if you feel physically you can go, but you are not listening to this sign that's gonna feel like plateau, because this is a sign of burning out, but like nervously, you need to change something in your routine. And that's why deloading and tapering are here. It is to stop you from doing too much in order to benefit from the gains you've been creating the last few weeks.
Injury is probably the sign it's too late. It's not, so most people probably should taper 2 to 3 weeks before they get injured.
Yeah, but the injury is not the type of thing knocking on door like, hello, tomorrow, I'm here for you. So most of the time it happens suddenly. And you cannot predict that. But then again, if your coach is programming for you like a structured program, this is the structure what we're talking about right now. You should feel some weeks are way lighter or way easier. And this is when you can regenerate.
I guess as a general rule of thumb, how we do it is every 3 weeks, you probably want to cut your volume by 30 to 40% on the 4th week.
If you want like a general rule, yes. But of course, it's like a general rule which can be bended and modified according to the block you're doing.
Like Julien probably doesn't need any rest. Like,
oh no, you will be surprised. Man, you will be surprised how I.
So what is your rest routine like?
Right now, I'm just training 1 day out of 2.
1 day.
That's it. I train 1 day, I rest 1 day, train 1 day, rest 1 day.
So that compared to what is your normal like in-season training routine?
This is my in-season. I just don't have time. But then at least I prioritize other things than just training.
That's why you call muscle maturity.
I don't know. But then I'm trying to at least maintain the fitness I've been building up the last few years. But to maintain this fitness is not only training. I'm trying to take care of my nutrition, trying to take care of my sleep, trying to take care of my recovery. Even if I recover a lot, it's important to still do the prehab accessory work for longevity, as I call them.
I guess one thing that the common understanding right nowadays is that maintaining performance and maintaining muscle in that sense is actually a lot easier than what people think. You don't actually need to do that much to provide a maintenance kind of stimulus to your body.
It's muscle memory. Man, if you do dancing, you can perform your skills of dancing if you learn new moves. You're laughing. Like even people who dance will understand. Or like if you do something a bit more artistic, which takes more techniques, let's say, than HYROX, because HYROX is not that technical.
Correct.
Something technical. You've learned it. You put the work for this. You don't have to work the same amount of work all your life to maintain this knowledge. So that's happening the same in aerobic capacity. As soon as you've built a certain fitness level, if you want to maintain this fitness level, of course, if you train 1 or twice a week, it's not going to happen. But if you do quality training, like properly, structured and programmed along the weeks, I don't see why you will lose your gains. Seriously. Like I'm 35 years old. I've been running the same pace or even faster by doing only quality training since I'm 15 plus. So then it's been 20 years plus. I'm able to maintain pretty much the same speed. So I think maintenance, it's way easier than people think.
It's actually, you really don't have to work that hard to maintain. But the hard part, I guess, in progression and everything is learning when to pull back, and then learning when to let yourself grow when you pull back, right? And that's where you see real progress come in.
Exactly. You have to consider progression. It's important, but regression, step back, analyze what is not okay, and then change accordingly to go back to this progression.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we're kind of running out of time.
Are we?
Yeah. So I just want to, I guess, since we are at it and we've been talking quite a lot of what we personally feel about HYROX and the training scene and everything.
Yeah.
Just to round it off, there are a couple of questions that we kind of discussed beforehand on what are common questions or quite common queries that people ask us quite constantly. I just think maybe this is a good time to just explore some of them.
Go for it.
So when we were discussing, one of the things that you said was the most common question that people ask you was, what do you think about when you are exercising at high intensity? Or I guess to rephrase this would be, when you are performing at a very high level, how do you keep focus and how do you break sticking points from there, right? Or mental hurdles that you probably need to get past because it's so painful and difficult. Yeah.
So this is not linked with physical preparation, but mental preparation. Yep. So when you reach this competitive level of fitness, you're going to enter this pain cave.
Yep.
And
the pain cave.
Yeah, we call that because everybody knows this pain cave. But then what happened in this pain cave, it depends on what you have in your head and how you think and behave with that.
Yeah.
Because you can have a bunch of guys which are pretty much the same physically ready for the Elite 15 when they are on the starting lane for the World Championship. These 15 guys could be world champion physically. If we just talk physically, they're more or less the same. But mentally, this is what makes you a winner or someone who missed the place, right?
Yeah.
And then how to build up that. So you have tips and advice that I can give you.
Yep.
So this is personal, but you're going to have to make your bubble in your head to put in this bubble what you think can, in any circumstances in life, makes you moving. For example, something dramatic.
Okay.
Your loved one is going to be kidnapped and you will never see her again if you don't finish your dame race. If you don't stick to your pace.
I need to do that.
That's about drama.
Yeah.
Or about love. You know, you can say it's about love, right? You can, I don't know, if people are looking for a Ferrari. Oh, okay, if I finish the race, I win a Ferrari. Maybe that's the reward, you know? Or anything that you can find in your head that will drag you to keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I think like my cats are going to be kidnapped. And then I will never see them again. And trust me, it works. So cat lover, try that. It works.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised how much it can make you improving.
Interesting. You know what? Like the funny thing, I guess I'm thinking in my head what I've learned over the years is that so for me, I'm not a very mentally strong person, like, because hardship and like all these things, I'm so comfortable in Singapore as hardship is always something I was like, struggle with. But for me, there's intrinsic and extrinsic kind of motivators for me, right? So like you, I'm more an intrinsic motivator, meaning if someone yells at me and when I'm doing, for example, at the wall balls, right? If someone yells at me, like that distracts me and makes me even more nervous and even more it makes
in competition.
Yeah, it makes it more challenging for me. I prefer to be silent by myself and to get through it. And this is why I also work out by myself. I prefer that rather than having a bunch of people around me.
Yeah.
So intrinsic motivations actually is something that I need more than extrinsic motivators.
Okay.
So when I go through something challenging like the wall balls, what I find is just talking to myself, like just saying, yo, you can do it, you know, and mentally running through like, okay, don't worry, you're okay, just get through it. Yeah. The moment I hear someone outside shouting my name, that bubble breaks in my head.
Really?
And then I get distracted and I'm like, okay, I
interesting.
can't focus. And then I start to lose the mental focus to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's really a lot of self-talk, a lot of just mentally prepping it. I would run through the race beforehand. I would sit there by myself, zone out. I'll close my eyes, wear earphones, try to block out everything else and just run through what I have to do, what the race is, and how I'll go through it. And that helps me a lot more. Yeah.
So you see, we have a different way to behave on race day.
Yeah.
But again, this mental preparation doesn't happen like this overnight.
Correct, yes.
This is part of your training. So training are always misunderstood. People think training is just running and lifting weights. Yeah. It's way more than this. It's like wearing your new pair of shoes in training to get used to your carbon plate, for example, or trying your gel in training and not only on the day.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, those are the two questions that kind of people ask as well, right? Should you wear carbon plate shoes to race?
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
Should you even wear carbon plate shoes?
For racing?
Yeah.
Yes, but not only. Because if you wear carbon plated shoes, that's going to be a bit more stiff on the Achilles. Yep. So you want this tissue to be prepared. So while you're going to have your threshold track or interval or like high speed, you will wear your carbon plated shoes to get used to it. But there is no point to wear your carbon plated shoes for warm up, long jog, or anything slow. It is not made to run slow. Okay, so then just when you're going to go fast.
So correct me if I'm wrong. For me, how I think of it is that a carbon plate shoe doesn't create more energy. It just helps you translate more energy into the ground, right? That means that in order to run faster, you're still having to put in more effort to run, right? Do you need to put in more effort every single run? If you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to feel more tired, and every single run is going to be hard, which is not really the stimulus you want for every single kind of run. Meaning like what Julien said, some runs are slow for an intention, right? It's meant to be aerobically supporting your capacity, right? And wearing a carbon plate shoes to run faster like that, it's going to make you set more energy, and it's going to take away the training stimulus you want to get or adapt from that run itself, right? So it completely defeats the purpose. So then there are times where you have to wear carbon plate shoes, which is at times where you have to run fast or times where you have to be in race conditions. And the purpose of this is to stimulate the body to be at a certain speed. But then there are times where you run slow, right? And wearing a carbon plate shoe only makes you more tired and takes away the stimulus that you need from a slow run. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Anyway, the carbon plated shoes have been proven that it makes you run faster also. So, I mean, if all the elite marathoners wear that, it makes sense.
Okay, but you know what? The argument for carbon plate shoe is that carbon plate shoes just look nicer.
And they are way more expensive. So that's why don't wear it in a warm-up or in a long jog, because you're going to smoke them just like that. $300
yeah, exactly. Carbon plate shoes really look too nicer, I would say. I think they look flashy enough for a race.
True.
Yeah. All right. So another question is, I guess you kind of touched on, which is how should you supplement yourself? Like, when should you take gels? When should you take electrolytes?
You mean for the HYROX race?
Yeah, for specifically racing, right?
Like, for racing? Okay. Yeah. So I personally don't take any supplements, but then when my athletes take supplements, I recommend them first to train with this supplement in particular during their training for getting adapted and used to this product. Yeah. And I will recommend them as well to take it around the row. Okay, so the row, which is the station 5, it's a really good spot to take it because first of all, you are going to be in a seated position on the row, so you can sort of digest better than if you take it before for the burpee broad jump. You have something in your stomach, horizontal, vertical. I'm not sure that's the best time to do it.
Right.
And then after for the carry, to be honest, it's a little bit too late in a race.
Right. Oh, interesting. I mean, I never thought of it that way, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more traditional in terms of like, you should take the one gel takes about 1 hour to digest or 45 minutes to digest, something like that. Okay, let me correct that. One gel takes about 30 minutes to digest. So you should time like one gel. If you're running an hour, you should time it right in the middle, 30-minute interval mark, so that you can have it for digest enough for the end of the race so you can get to use the energy at the end.
You see, that's why I don't take it. No point. We're done before it takes effect.
So yeah, I guess that's one thing, right? Like, but surprisingly, the row is the middle portion of the race.
Well,
right?
I guess it depends the brand also of the gel, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
probably.
Well, there is one brand, Amino Vital in Thailand.
Okay.
That's the one who were supplementing us for the last few competition. They've had the pre-workout gel, let's say the before training, during training, and after training. And the during training is actually super fast to act.
Right.
I've actually used it once for my half marathon a few months ago, which I've used in training, obviously, to make sure I can accept this, because you don't want drama to happen in the race.
Yep.
So it was fine. And it was on KM 18. I had this in my pocket and I totally forget about it because I never take gel.
Yeah.
And then I had like when you hit a wall.
Yep.
Like at this point at KM 18
too late,
out
man.
of 21. No, man, I took it. And seriously, I don't know if it's the gel or else, but like suddenly, like maybe, no, not 5 minutes after, but maybe I will say a minute or two after.
Oh, interesting.
Seriously.
What brand is this?
Amino Vital.
Amino Vital.
Yeah.
Okay. And
like within 2 minutes, I felt like a bounce of energy and I could just speed up until the end for the last 3K, no problem.
Okay, cool.
So I guess there is different brands.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not an expert about gels, that's for sure. But I will advise you to train on this and try different products and see what works for you for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess for myself, personal use, I don't take gels as well. But what I take is electrolytes. And I've always been a big fan, especially living in Singapore. Couple of things is that we've always been told that we should take less sodium.
Yeah.
But then as a athlete or as someone working out outdoors all the time, you probably need a lot more sodium than you think. And what I see and what I advise a lot of people, and I see a lot of progress from that, is that when they take electrolyte sticks, which are about 1000 mg and above, about 30 to 40 minutes prior to their race, it usually helps them through the race. And if you have cramps, these guys usually stop having cramps. So I actually have recommended them for my tennis players, my marathoners,
especially for athletes.
Yeah, and now I also recommend every single person doing HYROX to take it as well, because Singapore weather is just not suitable to, it just sucks a lot out of you, and you do need that supplementation for that. Yeah.
And do you know why? Because actually, well, the science behind all the brands of the supplementation for electrolytes noticed in athletes a big difference in terms of daily nutrition. So people who are training for competitive events, they are going to pay attention to what they eat, and they're going to avoid
less sodium to begin with.
Yeah, they're going to avoid the sodium, like the junk food, the fast food, and all this processed food, which is full of sodium, basically. And because you're going to cook your own food and eat healthy, you are lacking sodium.
Correct.
And that's when this electrolyte hits you for the best.
Yeah. So if you're very strict on a diet, you need to supplement sodium even more. Yeah.
But if you eat McDonald's and fries all day long, you don't need electrolytes. You're good. You're saturated.
Well, I guess so. But you should still probably consider if you should take one stick of like before a hard race.
True.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got time for about one more question, which is will I be ready for a HYROX race? I think that's perfectly kind of sums up this whole session, which is that a lot of times people get nervous about whether or not they can actually do a HYROX. What do you think?
I think it's just self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's
what would be the minimum requirement you give someone before you say, okay, go for your first HYROX race?
2 to 3 months minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. It's just that if you got about 8 to 12 weeks to train for, it's probably enough, even if you're an absolute beginner. Then the training would be also tailored to getting you familiarized with the weak points, right? So if you've never run more than 10K, then definitely the first form of stimulus you get would be to be able to run.
Yeah, it depends your background. Like I've had a guy recently, he's a marathon runner. Never did HYROX. We only done 1 week, 1 month of, we've only done 1 month of pure station training and keeping this marathon training on the side and nailed it. So because he has the background. But like, of course, if you have a total beginner who needs to build the foundation of endurance, that's going to be the longer the better to have a solid foundation.
Look, honestly, the exercises and the stations aren't challenging. Take that back. The exercise and stations are not the most difficult, right?
No.
You don't need to be a super big guy or super strong guy to complete the stations.
Anyone can go in.
Correct, exactly. And as long as you prepare yourself enough and you mentally can anticipate what's to come, and that's the good thing about HYROX is that you can actually anticipate the exercises, you'll be fine, you know?
Exactly.
All right, I guess that kind of sums up this whole session, and I'm quite happy with this whole conversation.
Yeah, man, that was fun.
So thanks, Julien, and thanks.
All the best for your upcoming races.
All the best to Shanghai too.
Go crush it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
All right, see you, man.